So, welcome guys to this fireside chat. Thanks for tuning in. I would like to introduce myself shortly before we dive deep into Manel's story. So, my name is Tobias Hoffman. I'm 21 years old, and I'm currently a student, and I'm studying sports management, specializing in esports. So it's an honor for me to moderate probably one of the most interesting panels of the whole Tech Summit today. Well, at least in my opinion. So when Zoltan asked me a couple of weeks ago, do you want to moderate a fireside chat with a literal cyborg? I was respectively at first a little bit confused. A cyborg? Did I miss a metaphor or something like that? What does he mean? A cyborg? There was only something I know from science fiction games like Cyberpunk 2077, for example. Apparently, for those who don't know the game, Cyberpunk is set in the year 2077 in a newly built city called Night City. And basically, humanity has enhanced their capabilities and abilities in every way through various cybernetic implants. Well, luckily for us, I have one of the pioneers of emergent cybernetic technology here sitting next to me. So coming straight out of Night City, please welcome Manel De Aguas. Manel is our speaker and topic today. He is an artist from Barcelona, Spain, currently living in Berlin. And like I said, he is one of the first and few who crossed the lines and enhanced his perception of reality beyond what was naturally or humanly possible before by creating a new sensory organ. So let's get into it. So, Manel, first things first, let me ask you, did you bring your umbrella with you today?
No need so far. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to the event. I'm so happy to be sitting here with Tobias. And yeah, for now, it's not raining much, no?
Well, that's good to hear for all of us. You all will know why later. So before we go deeper into the tech behind all that, I want to make sure that everybody here is on the same page. So therefore, I want to clarify some of the terms that are important when talking about you or with you. So regarding your identity, you're fine with people referring to you as a trans-species or as a cyborg. From what I've been told, you don't like to be referred to as a transhuman, which has happened in the past as well. So could you please give us a short definition for those three terms, so cyborgism, transspeciesism, and transhumanism, and maybe elaborate a little bit on why the distinction between transhumanism or transspeciesism is so important to you?
So yeah, I use these two terms to define myself, cyborg and transspecies. So we can understand each of both terms as with different definitions. Cyborg is from one side, one person that is, their body is made out of electronic organs and organic organs, no? So it's a body that is made by this combination of cybernetic and organism. That's also the root of cyborg, the etymology. Cyborg is combined by cybernetic and organism, but then it can also be someone that identifies that technology is part of their identity. I met people that doesn't identify as cyborg, but they have technology in their bodies. But in the same way, I met people that identify as cyborgs, and they have no technology in their body. So cyborg can also be an identity in the same way that can be a specific type of body. And then transspecies is those people that, or in one side they added to their body new organs or senses that are not traditionally human. In my case, I understand these fins. There are two weather fins that allow me to experience weather through sound. So basically I have a couple of implants that are connecting the fins to my skull. They're not attaching the fins completely, but this connection allows me to translate weather data into sound constantly. And it's an artistic exploration I started in 2017 to explore different ways of connecting with nature. So yeah, transspecies can be someone that has added to their body organs or senses that are not traditionally human, but also someone that doesn't identify 100% with the idea of human. And yeah, then from these two terms come the philosophy of understanding the practice of adding technology to the body, which would be, in one side, transhumanism, which is more widely known, no, in science fiction, I think, and stuff, and then transpecism, which is the philosophy I defend, or I feel part of. And basically the difference is, I think, like the use of the terms. For example, in transhumanism, the word enhancement is very used, no? Like this adding new capabilities to the body is understood as an enhancement. But for me, I don't share this way of seeing the addition of technology, because I feel this way of talking like really creates a hierarchy. And in my case, I understand that adding technology to the body, it's not an enhancement, it's an exploration that doesn't make you better, but that makes you different than what you were before. So in the end, it's different ways of seeing the same practice, but yeah, with other ideas.
Well, thank you for the thorough explanation. Well, now that everyone is on the same page, I want to talk with you about your early starts of the whole movement. When you developed your interest for this whole movement, I've read that you always felt close to nature and that you wanted to further intensify that bond. And also there were some friends of yours which were also involved in the movement. Why don't you tell us more about the start of your story and how you got involved into all of this?
So I met Neil Harbison and Moon Rivas, these two cyborg friends in Barcelona, and they started the cyborg art movement in the 2004, because Neil started creating this antenna that eventually he implanted in his skull to experience color through sound, and like this perception was going beyond the human vision spectrum, because he perceives from infrared to ultraviolet, so it goes beyond the visual spectrum for humans. And then Moon Rivas created these implants that were implanted in her feet, and they were connected to online seismographs. So every time there was an earthquake in the planet, she could receive this signal and be connected to the seismic activity of the planet in real time. And yeah, I met them in 2017, and basically they introduced me to this whole art movement called cyborg art, where the movement itself is about creating new senses and organs to find different ways of connecting with nature through technology. And yeah, I started my project in those years, 2017.
Mm-hmm. And Cyborg Art is basically the same as the Cyborg Foundation, or it's part of the Cyborg Foundation, which we are going to talk about now. So the Cyborg Foundation is founded in 2010, am I right? So it's a platform supporting cyborgism in general, for example, in research and development, or the implementation of various projects. Is that about a good description? Does it fit, or would you add anything?
Yeah, it was an organization, or it is, was created by Neil and Moon, and it was basically like an organization to help the people that wanted to start a cyborg transition, to help them with the first steps with this, and also what you mentioned, to advocate for a cyborg art. Cyborg art is not the same than Cyborg Foundation. Cyborg art is more the art movement, and Cyborg Foundation is an organization.
Okay. But one specific project of yours is the Transpecies Society. You're doing that with the founders of the Cyborg Foundation as well, so Neil and Moon. Please tell us more about the goal behind all that, what it is all about, and basically you can add anything you want to say about your own project, so feel free.
So Transpecies Society was like another branch of Cyborg Foundation, and we created it with Neil and Moon in 2017 at the end, to not give just space to cyborgs, but also to extend it to trans species, so people that identify with being not 100% human, but without the need of having like a technological component in the way of understanding themselves. And basically we were creating, the main thing was also to create a lab where different professionals or profiles of people were coming, and we were creating projects related to new senses and organs all together. But we were, for example, from electronical engineers to product designers to philosophers, artists. So it was like very diverse, and we were creating like these projects all together. And then it was also space to talk about transpecies identities or cyborg identities, and like a kind of safe space that in the end we were like around 300 members. So yeah, we felt like it was a nice space to create, because there was not something like this in Barcelona.
Well, that's good to hear. So now we will get to the fun part regarding that this is still a tech summit. So let's get to the technology behind all that. As everyone can see, you have a cybernetic implant, and you have the fins attached to that implant. So now those fins change your perception on reality in some sort. So for example, you can hear the weather, as you said. So if the audience remembers, I asked right at the beginning if you brought an umbrella with you today. At latest, you guys should know, or should now understand why I asked that. So Manel, please talk us through, like, how do these implants work? Is it through, for example, microwaves human can't normally perceive, maybe? Please take your time and just elaborate on the whole technology behind that. Just go on.
Thank you. Basically these two fins that you see, as I mentioned, they allow me to experience weather through sound. So that was basically my art exploration in this field, cyborg art. And basically these two fins allow me to experience temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure through three qualities of the sound. So our pitch, sound volume, and timbre. So each of these weather elements are related to sound quality. And basically, this is like for me an exploration of exploring my environment or the environment through a different way. And like the technology. So at this point, this is like the third version of the fins that I created, or the cyborg organ, because I was invited like 5 years ago and here in the same place, and I had like a prototype behind that it was like a chip. It was the first one, I think, and it was only for barometric pressure. The project like kept evolving, and basically now it's for humidity, temperature, and pressure. And I have live sensors that are like you can see them through this hole.
Yeah, I can see the small hole.
Yeah, they're at the end, and basically this is connected to like a small computer, kind of like a PCB with different components. And this is also attached to an SD card that it gathers like a full gallery of sounds that I created for the different combination of temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure. So basically, with the fins, like I'm reading constantly the environment around, and depending on the weather conditions of each moment and the combination of these three elements, temperature, humidity, and atmospheric pressure, the fins are picking one sound from this gallery and is reproducing it in loop through a bone conduction kind of headphone, transducer, that it's connected to the implant. And the implant, basically, it's a mechanical implant for now, because it's a metal that is, it's one plate that is touching the chip that vibrates in the fin, and then another plate that is in touch with the bone. So basically, when the chip vibrates and touches the implant, the vibration arrives to the bone and becomes sound. So basically, it's sound through bone conduction. So I experience the sound of the weather through the bone, not through the ears, like not through the air.
I mean, that's just fascinating to hear that this is even possible nowadays. You even created them by yourself, like the design is from yourself. It's inspired by flying fish, and the engineering was not only your responsibility, right? There were others involved in engineering, right? Okay. So at least I've been dying to know, how do these sounds actually sound? So we've prepared a little snippet. I'm happy to refer to the sound guy in the back, because that's actually a song which uses tones you actually hear from your fins, right? So
Yeah,
if he's ready, we can listen to that. Thank you very much. So it was quite obvious what those sounds were supposed to portray, right? I mean, everybody in here can hear that this is clearly the winter in Barcelona in 2020. No, but seriously, the sounds used in here were inspired by the sounds you heard in the winter in Barcelona. For example, I'd imagine those bubbly sounds we heard towards the end, for example, resemble some of the humidity in the air. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
So what else can we hear, or what else can be heard from that snippet as well?
So this is like a 23 minutes, 21 minutes sound piece that basically I composed after when the winter from 2020 in Barcelona was finished. I created this piece basically summarizing like in 5 seconds for every day the whole winter, how it sounded through the fins. So it was a way to, hear the season, the winter season, through a sound piece. And every 5 seconds where this beat comes is every day. And in this snippet in a specific, you can hear. It starts with a more crackly and bubbly sound. It's a mix. This is like a level of humidity that is like halfway, let's say. I mean, it's a 40% more or less. And then towards the end, it becomes more bubbly. And it's because the humidity was increasing in the next days. And this translates through the sound of the fins as the environment becomes more bubbly, because my intention with the fins, it was to create for myself the perception that I live like in a kind of submerged, like in underwater like environment. So every time the humidity, the water in suspension is around me and it increases, I want to kind of hear it through the fins. So that was a way of revealing this reality that is happening around me, but I am not so aware of that this is happening. And in the end, this is the aim of cyborg art, no? Like revealing realities that are actually happening around you, but maybe through the biological body you cannot experience in the same clarity. And in the end, it becomes like creating like a new nature, no? Like you create like a new language for nature that you are creating yourself, but in the end it's related to something that is actually happening, because I'm not inventing, no, that the humidity is increasing, or my friend is not inventing that the earthquakes are happening, but you create this language that you create, but it's to translate something that it's real.
Yeah, and I think it's really fascinating. I mean, we could fill probably like 2 hours of a panel only with you sitting here talking about your experiences, but we have to speed things up a little bit as we're running shortly out of time. So I wanted to talk about the framework conditions a little bit. So you had to undergo surgery. Were there any side effects? Have you suffered from migraines or headaches or something like that? Because it's normal for the human body to reject parts that are normally not in, or that are normally not supposed to be in the body. So have you suffered from any side effects, or do you know some friends which had any side effects or negative experiences from getting those implants?
Yeah, so there's in cyborg art there's this risk, no? Like from one side the like psychological risk, or like and then in the other side the physical one. And basically in my case with the prototype I had in the beginning when I first visit here, yeah, this one was giving me like some headaches in the beginning, I remember, because it was more an input that I didn't really had, like I designed it, I decided it, but it was like more, this is more subjective, it's more like a kind of sound that I created, and in that case were like kind of beats in my head. So that one was giving me some headaches, and of course the mind takes some time to get used. Since I had that experience before this one, I think my brain was already used to receive like a new input from my head, coming from my head. And this one is more, as you've heard, like more like a kind of soundscape noise. But yeah, so it was not as aggressive, I think. I doesn't perceive it as aggressive, but I had to get used to it anyways. And in terms of like the physical part, I had some infections in the beginning, and that was also one of the parts that the body modificators in Barcelona were scared of, about this risk as infections. So I ended up doing it in Tokyo in 2020 with this man, like pioneer of body modification. And yeah, but it's two of the risks it's
okay. And what about the costs? Like, you can just give me a ballpark figure of how much such an implant actually costs?
Yeah, it's the technology part, not so much, less than a phone, like,
oh wow, okay,
like 1,000. I spent literally like 1,200 maybe, like, because if I think of the materials that we use, like these are materials that it's a very cyberpunk, like in the end project, because I'm not working with big companies. I'm like doing everything with friends, like in a room that it's full of trash. Like it's nothing that we're doing like super high tech. No, we're artists. We're poor, honestly. Like I have, like, you know, it's something that we're doing for passion, and because we have a vision, and like we have the courage of doing it. But it's like it's an art of risk, as like the sports of risk exist, but this is an art of risk that of course has some risks. But my curiosity and like my, you know, heart to be doing this kind of art goes beyond the scareness of any risk. So yeah, but it didn't cost so much because it's all produced by ourselves, and it's chips that cost cents, and then I paid my friends that helped me with doing the thing, so that's why it went up. But the implants were like 80 euros each. Like
I would still I would have thought that the price would be much higher, but that's good to know. So we're slowly finishing this chat. There's one more thing we need to talk about. Afterwards, I would like to open up the conversation and refer to the audience if they have some questions left. But we have to talk about the future first. So how would you think the next centuries will be regarding the development of sensory organs, for example, or just future cyborgism in general?
So I think like the addition of technology to the body just brings new diversities, no? People that wants to add technology and have technology in their bodies. I don't think there's only one future. I think there's a future for everyone. in terms that everyone chooses their own future, and we all should have the freedom to choose what we want for our future. I just feel that it's necessary that we all have the freedom for this. So, like, people that want to add technology should have the freedom and be protected and have rights, cyborg rights, for example. But yeah, I think like we'll see more people merging with technology, I guess in more like an invisible way, more in a practicality way, no, like in, I don't know, microchips to, I don't know, make payments, blah, blah, no, like in the end to make life more comfortable, because that's, if we look back in history, that's what we always did with technology, to make our life comfortable. And I think we'll see this more in the future. This kind of practice, more visual and stuff, I think maybe it will stay more in the arts. Let's see, no? Let's see how extravagant is the future. But yeah, I think hopefully everyone will have the freedom to choose their own path. And
I will think so. It will just take time. So that's it for now. Thank you for your forecast. So now we have time for a few questions as well. So I saw one in the front there. Should I give you a microphone or?
Do you hear sound all the time, or is it just seldom, or can you switch it off? Or because when you are in a discussion like this, get you influence from outside?
yeah, it's all the time, but I'm getting information from more things than my fins. Like while we are talking, I'm aware that you all hear. So I keep my eyes also looking. I keep hearing noises from outside. It's just that it's a new thing, but it's been 4 years now with the fins. And it's been 7 since I started like the project. So in the end, like the brain gets used, and it's a sound that it's also through the bone. So it's not as aggressive as we could hear it through the speaker. It's more like a background noise. And yeah, there's no switch on or switch off. Like I charge my batteries every morning, like it's cyborg breakfast, as I call it. Because it's basically, yeah, I have my organic breakfast while I'm charging. And yeah, this lasts the whole day. There's no switch on, switch off, because I wanted to create something that it was the closest to an organic body part. Like all my senses are on the whole day. So I wanted to create something that it's on all day also. And also because this is the way of letting your brain adapt to this. If it would be always, no, like every now and then, you will always like perceive it as like, now, or I don't know, like it will always feel more external to you, let's say. And that was my way of, making it more part of myself and my life. And I identify it as a very, like, intimate space for me even, no? This sound, because it's a sound that when I hear it the most is when I'm in my room, sitting in my bed, like doing my stuff. Kind of, it's like in that moment everything is silent around, no, and I just hear the sound inside of me that are connecting me to the space itself. So I created like a very like personal connection with this, and like I don't know. They're not completely implanted yet. That's like what it's coming. Like I want to implant them in the skull. They're not in the skull yet. There's an implant, as I said, that is connected to the skull, but is external. And I need to make them smaller for this, because I also gonna add Wi-Fi to connect myself to other weather stations. With this, this is a magnet that like click, it connects. And with like solar panels, which is the most cool way of doing it, or just like a power bank, honestly, to go to the supermarket. You're not gonna go with the solar panels. So basically it's this all this the project is also about, no, it's not only the creation itself of the body part, but it's also the transformation of yourself through the project. And that's what I wanted also to, for me, this is an art project and it's converting my life into my art project. So it's the transformation of yourself throughout this art project. It's what fulfills me. So yeah, it's a whole journey.
A wholesome story, yeah. So
Thank you.
I don't think we have time left for any questions, I'm afraid. But Manel will still be around for the remaining conference, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask him. I would like to end this panel with a famous quote, which I think is also true for Manel's story that we just went through. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Greetings from Neil Armstrong. Thanks for your attention, and please join me with a handful of applause for our wonderful guest, Manel.
Thank you. And for him too.